With Governor Christie's blessings, New Jersey legislators have voted to put a referendum on the November ballot asking New Jerseyans to approve an expansion of casinos into northern New Jersey. But with Atlantic City casinos continuing to struggle just to survive, why would the state's top elected officials want to increase their competition? Joining me now to put the issue of casino expansion in perspective is my New Jersey Capitol Report co-anchor and MetroFocus contributor, Steve Adubato. Steve, welcome.
Good to see you, Raf.
So what's this referendum about? What are we talking about?
Well, the Atlantic City casinos have been losing money for years. They had 12. There are 8. They've lost 10,000 jobs in the last few years in the casinos. The Constitution in New Jersey only allows for casino gambling in Atlantic City. So therefore, in order to have gambling in the northern part of the state in casinos, you would have to change the Constitution. And that is why there is a constitutional amendment or provision, if you will, resolution on the ballot for November the 8th, 2016, when a lot of people will be voting for the presidency. And if, in fact, it happens, there will be 2 new casinos in the north.
But how does that help Atlantic City? You'd think that more competition could only hurt Atlantic City.
Well, and that's what you will hear from the mayor of Atlantic City, Don Guardian. That's what you will hear from some of the Democratic legislators and some other legislators down in the Atlantic City area. But Senate President Steve Sweeney, who has been driving this, who's from
the South.
Yeah, he's from the South. He's also a candidate potentially for governor of the state of New Jersey. He's saying, look, they're already getting hurt in Atlantic City. If we do this right and these casinos succeed in the north, and by the way, there's competition in Connecticut and Pennsylvania.
Right.
There's belief there's going to be a casino in New York City and Manhattan. Who knows? He's saying, look, let's get in the game sooner because some of the revenue, by constitutional provision, the money from the casinos goes to disabled, seniors, and the money, by law, if this happens this way, from the northern New Jersey casinos will go back to the casinos in Atlantic City.
And if I'm not mistaken, part of the ownership of these 2 new casinos have to be from Atlantic City Casino.
51% of the ownership has to be based on someone who, in fact, is an owner, and you have to be a 51% owner of a casino in Atlantic City. So the argument is they're not going to be coming from nowhere else. I mean, they have to be from the state of New Jersey. They have to be in Atlantic City.
So I said in the introduction that this got the governor's blessings. Was that right?
Not only did it get his blessings, but the governor was around nationally at the time, and he came back to New Jersey right before the state address, and he got together. You're going to see him speaking at the podium, the rostrum, if you will, outside the governor's office. And Senate President Steve Sweeney is there, along with the Speaker of the General Assembly, Vincent Prieto. And they had not agreed on this, 2 Democrats, but boy, they had 2 totally different views on which way to go in casinos in the north. And the governor came back and brokered a deal, some say, between the 2 Democrats, and this is what he had to say.
This involved a great deal of compromise on the parts of all parties. Nobody here is getting exactly what they wanted or exactly the outline of what they asked for. But the most important thing, in my view, was to bring resolution to this issue and to give the voters their opportunity this November, when there will presumably be a large turnout in New Jersey, as there will be across the country, for the presidential election, for the largest number of our citizens to be able to make a determination on whether they choose to amend the Constitution to expand gaming possibilities to the northern part of our state outside of Atlantic City.
Well, it's really unusual to see those 3 guys there together agreeing on something. It hasn't happened in a while.
No, it hasn't. And the governor did get involved. And let me tell you, those 2 Democrats had very different views on this.
So he brought them together.
Let me just say this. He was directly involved. He was part of that compromise. And I'm not convinced it would have happened if he didn't get involved. And it's a big deal because it's not clear where those casinos are going to be. It really isn't, because the resolution that's going to be on the ballot only says that there'll be 2 casinos in the north. What happens, Raf, if it passes? What kind of battle is there going to be about where those casinos will be? Don't you think that Jersey City, right across the river, and we're taping right here in Lincoln Center, don't you think that they're going to want it? Don't you think Newark's going to want it? Don't you think Bergen County over at the Meadowlands is going to want it?
So the battle is still to come.
Oh, yeah. Everyone in the north is saying, we want the casinos. Then if it happens, wait till you see how they fight with each other about saying, no, we have the best location.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's go back to Atlantic City. You know, why have all the efforts to revitalize Atlantic City in the last few years, and there have been a lot of efforts, why have they all failed?
And, you know, I'm not an economist, but I do know a little bit about when you flood the market. There were clearly too many casinos to start with. There was an assumption when the 12 casinos ultimately built up in Atlantic City that there would be no other competition. That was a ridiculous assumption. Because look what happened in the surrounding states, Raf. When you had Pennsylvania, when you have Connecticut, when you have these other states, New York, when you have everyone else involved and people have more options. I mean, Atlantic City did well in the 70s and the early 80s and the 80s because there wasn't a lot of competition. Then you had that competition. People have other choices.
Well, if you were a betting man, pun intended,
yes,
what do you think is going to, what would you guess would happen?
New Jersey voters historically have not been in favor of this. People are influenced by the media coverage, by the 30-second spots. Public opinion on this is not formed because people haven't been thinking about it. Right now, it's neutral, but I'm going to tell you there's going to be a war as we get closer to the battle of
you want to venture a guess?
I don't know if it's going to pass, Raf. I very rarely say that on MetroFocus. I actually don't know what's going to happen.
All right, Steve, thanks so much. We'll see what happens.
You got it.